today. If you'd like to know more about Unitarian Universalism or this congregation, I invite you to visit our guest and member information table in Warren Hall during coffee hour, or to please fill out the guest card that you will find in the pew rack in front of you and hand it to one of our ushers. We welcome all, regardless of gender, religious background, and sexual orientation. We are a certified, welcoming community and celebrate the presence and participation of people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, or gender nonconforming. And here we believe that Black lives matter. We are also a certified green sanctuary, respecting the interdependent web of all existence and promoting the values of a sustainable planet. Our service today is in commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It was yesterday, January 27th, the day in 1945 when 9,000 remaining prisoners, were discovered and freed from the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp in Poland by the Allied Soviet Red Army. The United Nations established this day in 2005, which is now commemorated in countries around the world. Our service includes specific readings, special music prepared by our music director, James Rosenblum, with descriptions that are in your program, and a message from our youth director, Don McKechnie, and a personal eyewitness account from one of our own members, Rosemarie Marino. They are all here to remind us never to forget. When we walk in the doors of the church, we are individuals seeking many things, but as we take a moment to greet one another, we are reminded that this is a communal worship time, a time to move from our separateness into community. In the spirit of welcome, please rise in body or spirit and greet one another. Okay? Oh, my voice is shaking. I almost lost it.
I'm going to see who's over on the left side, because I can't see the left side.
Oh, right, yeah, and I couldn't see the right. Yeah. I've got several friends here that came today. I'm really pleased.
Yeah, I do too.
I have from two of my tennis friends and my former editor and his wife. And of course, Brian is here.
Yeah.
Have you seen him?
Yes, I already went to him. I made a copy of what I am going to say for
Oh,
Bill.
good. Oh, good. Well, he'll be able to watch it online.
Yeah. I don't know how that works.
Now I want to see, how do I get him to sit down?
That's all right. They'll sit down. They'll calm you down.
Okay. Oh, I've got to say the announcements first. Just one. I invite your attention to the announcements written in the order of service.
At times, our own light and the light of the world goes out and then is rekindled by a spark outside ourselves. The chalice flame, changeless and changing, reminds us of these transformations. Joyce Campagna, will you please light our chalice? Thank you. Now please rise as you are able and join in the unison affirmation printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant together. Please join in the children and youth affirmation. We believe in unity. We believe in community. We believe in power, difference in the world. Please remain standing to sing hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken, in your gray hymnal. Please be seated. In our ritual of pebbles and concern, of joys and concern, we speak to each other and to ourselves in silence. We invite all who wish to come forward down the center aisle in 2 rows and place a pebble of joy or concern in our community waters. Each pebble is different from the others. So too are our individual joys and concerns. Yet the pebble's sameness attests that happiness and fulfillment, pain and loss are common to all. The water symbolizes compassion and renewal. In a community of understanding, we encourage everyone to take this time as an opportunity for silent prayer and reflection. You may come forward. Please remain seated and join in the reading of the responsive reading number 720 in the back of your gray hymnal. We remember them. We remember them. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
These words were written by Olympia Brown a Universalist minister ordained in 1863. She said, "We can never make the world safe by fighting. Every nation must learn that the people of all nations are children of God and must share the wealth of the world. You may say this is impracticable, far away, can never be accomplished, but it is the work we are appointed to do. Sometime, somehow, somewhere, we must ever teach this great lesson. For the work of this church, where love guides us, the morning offering will now be received."
Please rise and join us in the dedication and offering in your order of service. Well, from all that dwell below the skies,
Oh, my goodness.
we are truly grateful. You may be seated.
Good morning. Let's see, can you hear me okay? Yeah, is that on? Yeah. Turn it up? Let's see. Let me see if I can get this instead. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Testing, can you hear me? Yeah, oh good, yeah, Cora, come on down. You want to sit over there? Okay, so this morning I am sharing with you a story written by Martha Dallas. Once there was a place that was very bleak and dreary. All the colors, there were only shades of gray and brown. Nothing grew there, no grass, no flowers, no trees. And this place was surrounded by walls and fences. People lived in this place. Every day they were forced to work digging holes and then shoveling the dirt that they had dug out back into those same holes. This work made them feel tired and their bodies ached. And they felt hopeless, for their work never amounted to anything. The food they ate, just a little bread and some broth. Their bellies were never full, and they were always hungry. Plus, they got sick a lot, for this food wasn't nutritious enough to keep them healthy. At night, they slept, if they slept, on hard wooden beds. They had no pillows nor blankets, so they were cold and they shivered much of the night. When they did sleep, they had bad dreams, and when they woke up, they were just as tired as they had been the night before. One morning in this place, a girl went out, and suddenly she saw something on the ground, something special and precious. It was a red raspberry. Quickly, she picked it up and slipped it into her pocket. She kept it safe there all day, and that night she found a leaf that had blown in from the outside. She put the leaf in her hand and placed the red raspberry on the leaf and went to her friend and presented it to her friend as a gift. And her friend received it. I tell you this story not only because it reminds us that in the most sad, hopeless, bleak, and dreary places, we can, if we keep our eyes open, find miraculous surprises, treasures that are bright and sweet and delicious, like that raspberry. But more importantly, when we find these treasures, we can give them up, give them away, and give them to a friend. Now, this is a true story. It actually happened. And I want you to remember this story. So in your mind's eye, imagine you have a raspberry. Cradle it in the palms of your hands. Now imagine that your world is dreary, sad, hopeless, and bleak. And imagine that your friend has just given you this raspberry. This raspberry was the one thing your friend truly owned, and she chose to make it a gift for you. Let us sit with that feeling for a bit. I invite you to imagine eating it and enjoying your raspberry. Ready? Okay, everybody? Maybe it's so sweet, right? Let's remember. Let's always remember. I invite any children and youth to come to programming. We're going to be in the hall this morning, so I invite you to follow me out, and the rest of you to rise, embody your spirit, and sing hymn number 413, Go Now in Peace.
A Litany of Atonement by Robert L. Isaacs. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible. For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others. For the selfishness which sets us apart and alone. For falling short of the warnings of the Spirit, for losing sight of our unity, for those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Please join in singing hymn number 119 in your gray hymnal, Once to Every Soul and Nation.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right? Okay. My name is Elaine Brennan, and I am a member of this church. We all have a story. Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. A group of 7 of us decided to write our stories in a memoir style and share it with each other. We call ourselves the Memoir Writing Yourself Well group. One of our members, Rosemary Marino, grew up in Germany during the Holocaust. Yesterday, January 27th, was Holocaust Remembrance Day. It marks our collective responsibility to remember the unspeakable atrocities committed towards all the victims of the Holocaust by Hitler and his regime to protect the mythical strength and purity of the German race. The Holocaust lasted several years, from sometime in the 1930s until 1945. 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were murdered by various horrific means, as were 3.3 million Soviet prisoners of war, 1.8 million non-Jewish ethnic Poles, somewhere between 250 and 500,000 Romani men, women, and children. The Romani were derogatorily referred to as gypsies. Also, 250 to 300,000 people with disabilities, including at least 10,000 children, 10 to 15,000 homosexuals, hundreds of black people, about 1,700 Jehovah's Witnesses for refusing to serve in the German army, tens of thousands of political opponents, and others that have not been able to be counted. The total number of people callously murdered is estimated at 17 million men, women, and children, and millions more were inflicted with unimaginable suffering and pain, while others stood in complicit silence. On Holocaust Remembrance Day, we remember crimes committed against humanity in the past, but we also remember the importance to speak up in the present. United in diversity, we speak up against Holocaust deniers, against conspiracy myths, against disinformation, and against violence of any kind that targets and singles out members of our communities. Despite decades of effort, we have not yet done enough to combat discrimination. Anti-Semitism still exists, as does discrimination about gender, race, ethnic origin, and sexual orientation. We cannot allow complacency. We cannot allow impunity for acts of hatred that instill fear in members of our communities. May I now introduce to you Rosemary Marino, who will share her story with you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry. As I read recently, the history of genocide often defies our ordinary approaches to representation. The trauma is too extreme, but the moral imperative to document and fix in collective memory the Holocaust means that its myriad stories of suffering demand retelling. This seeming paradox raises questions about how we turn atrocity into narrative. But here is my attempt. It was March 20th, 2017, when my then 21-year-old grandson, Nicholas, who is here with us today, and I arrived in Berlin, my hometown. We were greeted by my one and only relative, my 17-year younger cousin, Andreas, to commemorate a solemn and for us important occasion. A stumble stone was to be placed the next day in memory of our paternal grandmother in front of the building where she resided for most of her adult life. This was also the building where I spent the first 5 years of my life in close proximity to her. My parents occupied the top floor. My grandmother and her unmarried son lived in the apartment on the second floor. Memories long forgotten flooded in. I should explain here that my grandmother had married a non-Jew, a Gentile, who was deceased, which classified her two sons, my father and my uncle, as half Jewish, i.e. not yet on the list for deportation. The Stumblestone Memorial idea was conceived in the 1990s by Gunter Demnig, a sculptor and political activist, and more than 100,000 stones have been placed across 26 countries by him personally since then. It is his life's work and meaning. Each stone commemorates a victim of the Holocaust at that person's last known address and eternalizes the lives that were lost in the Holocaust. And we were expecting Mr. Demnig at 10:15 the next morning to install such a stone memorial containing our grandmother's name, Henriette Leiser Damerius, birth date, date of deportation, destination, and date of death. Close friends had gathered when I gave the eulogy and began by citing my own translation of something Immanuel Kant wrote. She who lives in the memory of loved ones is not dead. She is only absent. The only one who is dead is the one who is forgotten.
Also, I am reminded of what Elie Wiesel said, listening to a witness makes you a witness. While the memorial stone needed to be placed at my grandmother's last legal address, it was not the place where the Nazis physically caught up with her. My parents had bought a house outside of Berlin in 1938, deep in the woods near one of the many lovely lakes, in the hope that the family could escape the city with its dangers, both physical and mental. It was one place where my grandmother did not wear the yellow star continually, signifying that she was a Jew. There, she was less in danger, of being denounced by a zealous neighbor. However, the hunt for Jews in Berlin continued at an ever-increasing pace, but none of the raids had yet found my grandmother at home. Neighbors were asked, but few knew of the house in the woods by the lake, or so my father and his brother thought. Unfortunately, my father forgot that he had asked one of his part-time employees to transport furniture and such to the hideaway, and this person gave the secret address to the Gestapo. I was 5 years old, but remember well the unusual commotion of several policemen in our house, and how my visiting maternal grandmother insisted that I go for a walk with her. Even more to my surprise, I soon heard a loud noise and saw my paternal grandmother passing us on the back of a police motorcycle, a 73-year-old woman wrapped in a shawl in the middle of January 1944. That is my last memory of seeing my grandmother alive. Ever since that fateful day, I have been looking for my grandmother, for validation that she existed. Dan and I drove to Theresienstadt, Terezin, in Czechoslovakia, in 1990, the concentration camp where my grandmother perished. It was an emotionally difficult journey, but I found validation in the form of the record of her and the date when her train left Berlin, when she arrived at the camp, and when she died. This was not an extermination camp like Auschwitz, but direct train tracks connected it to Auschwitz. And I know that one of my father's cousins and his wife left Theresienstadt on it and perished. My second validation came at the United States Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., of which I am a member, and which I visited in 1993, the first year of its existence. There I found her name and details in a registry book, which was the size of a Manhattan telephone book. Upon leaving, every visitor was urged to leave a message, and mine was actually later used in a solicitation by the museum, and this is what I wrote. The visit was truly one of the most important events of my life, especially since I found the record of my grandmother's death in Theresienstadt in the archives library. To know that her name has become a part of this museum is extremely satisfying for me and a very fitting resting place for her. Holocaust survivor and Nobel Prize winner Elie Wiesel said, "I swore never to be silent whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides. Taking a position, taking a position is what we are doing here today. Thank you.